everybody. My name's Gabriela Heizer. Welcome back to the Next 2020. I hope you're back. If this is your first time, welcome. So today during this show, I will be hosting Rising Leaders. The aim is to open the conversation and discuss how these young leaders have navigated through the pandemic and times of unrest. I want to address things like their journey, current event, and future plans. Again, if you're new or if you're coming back, the goal of this show is once again to inspire, give hope, and help one another. So today, we're hosting young leaders committed to our future. I would like to introduce Alisson, Angela, and Gabby. Another Gabby. Hello. Hi. So I would like to start off by us going around and everyone giving to the audience a brief introduction and background, stating your full name and briefly describing what your leadership position is/was and why you decided to run/apply for that position. So Alisson, why don't you start?
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Alisson Seeley, and I am a recent graduate of the Florida State University. And my previous leadership position was an undergraduate teaching assistant in the Honors College at Florida State.
Awesome. Angela?
Hello, so my name is Angela. I am also a recent graduate of Florida State University. I graduated in May of 2019. This past year, I have been serving for my sorority's headquarters, so Gamma Phi Beta. I've been working as a collegiate leadership consultant. And basically what that role is I travel to different chapters across the United States and help them with anything and everything. So it's been such a privilege getting to just be able to help other collegians like other people have helped me. And that was why I applied, just to be able to help more people and get the most out of their collegiate experience.
Awesome. Gabby?
Hi, everyone. I'm Gabby. Gabby's my name, and thank you for having me. I'm currently a senior at Florida Atlantic University, and I'm the president of Delta Sigma Pi, which is a professional co-ed fraternity for business majors. And I just love being a part of it, helping others grow professionally and just have a lot of development that you usually have in the industry once you graduate. But I love it because you actually learn a lot about the industry and the business field before graduating. So it definitely helped me a lot, and I love helping other people as well.
That's great. And I'm a part of Delta Sigma Pi as well. And I love that you can connect with fellow students who have similar goals and visions, which is how I met Gabby. So welcome, guys. I'm glad to have you guys all on the show today. You guys all do great things, so this will be fun. So my first question for everybody today is, what inspired you to get into leadership? I think that's an important question because really that's kind of what drove each of us to start in our leadership positions. So Angela, why don't we start with you?
Absolutely. I feel like leadership, you can take that word and go so many different directions with it. And so for me personally, how I see leadership is more of being able, like having so many mentors and giving me leadership opportunities, whether it be just facilitating something or doing a public speech for a minute or being a leader in different opportunities and roles and things like that. And so for me, what made me want to get into leadership is all of those mentors putting so much effort into my growth and self-development and wanting to give that to other people, which kind of mentioned earlier, just everything and anything that I've done has just been to give people a better experience than I had and just continue moving forward.
Love that. Gabby?
So I was definitely inspired by how much my organization helped me. Through Delta Sigma Pi, I got my first internship. I grew so much, it was my second semester of college, so I definitely had a lot of growth, and I learned a lot about myself in the professional field, and, I made so many connections like Gabby, and I just learned a lot, so I definitely wanted to help other people the same way that Delta Sigma Pi had helped me, and I wanted to see other people succeed and, grow, so definitely my biggest goal when I went into my leadership position was helping other people and making sure, they got to their goals like I did.
Right. And real quick before we get to you, Alisson, Gabby, I was president when you joined, right?
No, Bianca.
Bianca
was a semester after.
All right. Well, I inspired you indirectly.
Yes, you did. You did.
All right, Alisson, go.
Yeah, so what inspired me to become a teaching assistant in the honors program was honestly the lack of diversity I saw once I was accepted to the program. There's a required course for all honor students to take, and that's the class that I ended up teaching. But when I was a freshman and I took the course, I didn't really see much representation or diversity. And so that's what really inspired me to run for the position. Additionally, the class was really, really boring. And I thought to myself, I can't imagine other students having to sit through this because, you know, the honors program has so much to offer. And so we want them to stay involved. And the only way to do that is to make sure that we have a really well put together class so that they stay involved through their senior year. And so the diversity part, as well as wanting to improve the course itself, is what motivated me to run for the position.
That's great. That actually brings me to another question. What was all of you guys' aim in becoming a leader? Like, did you, like Allison, you just said you wanted to add more diversity and help the class get better. Do you guys have anything else to say about that and what you hoped to accomplish during your leadership position?
So I can start.
Go for it, Gabby.
Thank you. I definitely wanted the chapter to improve. Like Gabby said before, she was president before I joined, and she definitely helped so much with our growth and our success. And I wanted to continue that because I didn't want to see, our organization fail in any way. So that was one of my biggest goals, to make sure we're doing everything we can. We're doing a lot more than what is required. I wanted to be the best organization on campus. So definitely making sure that we're not just helping ourselves, but helping everyone else on campus. We invited people to our events, and just kind of like letting everyone know, Delta Sigma Pi is here to help more people and help everyone just grow and succeed.
I think for me personally, I don't think I ever was like, oh yeah, I just want to go out and be a leader. I think it was more of a lot of other people seeing stuff in me. So then other people, whether it be mentors or friends, just encouraging me to go out for some kind of position or go to some event and learn about something. And so I feel like when someone else has confidence in you, it almost gives you that like instilled confidence. And so that just makes you want to be more involved and pay it forward for someone else.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I want to accomplish with this show is to create that network, to create that group. Hopefully, like the show will get other young professionals. Oh, I remember that girl from that show. Maybe we should talk to her because she has great ideas and things like that. And I definitely think your network is super important, like you said, to push you and grow. Allison, did you want to add anything to that question or no? Because I know you already kind of.
I think I said everything I needed to say for that one.
All right, cool. Just wanted to make sure. What type of preparation or experience did each of you guys have prior to taking on your leadership position? Gabby, why don't we start with you?
Okay. So before I became president, I had 2 leadership roles, vice president of chapter operations and vice president of chapter operations for my pledge class. So it definitely taught me a lot about, meeting deadlines, making sure the fraternity is doing our events, meeting our recruitment goal. And so after learning more about how the fraternity works, it definitely prepared me for my role as president. I never thought I would be running for president when I joined, but like Angela said before, like people around you motivate you and they see the potential in you. So I think that's really important because they're going to push you and they see how well you can do, how much you can do for the organization. So I definitely couldn't have done it without them. And honestly, like as a leader, you can't accomplish your goals if you don't have that support. So I think it's really important to have a good team around you as well.
Definitely agree. What about you, Allison? What do you think?
So the training for this position was very minimal and our expectations were super high. And so before the semester started, I had to do so much research and trying to figure out how to even teach a class of students who are only, a year or 2 younger than me, while also keeping them engaged. And so I went to YouTube University and started watching a bunch of videos for what other honor colleges do and the different programs they established throughout their tenure and things of that nature to help put me on a good path and being able to craft a curriculum that's actually interesting and I don't know, just engaging so that people want to come to class and they don't dread having to come and then they are less interested in the honors program. But instead they actually want to get involved and they actually want to become a TA themselves So that was really what the goal behind my preparation was.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that YouTube University. You learn a lot of great things there.
I'm telling you, it's OG.
What about you, Angela?
For me, before, because I worked through this role as a leadership consultant with my organization, I feel like naturally a lot of where I would have prepared would have been in my collegiate experience. So I had smaller leadership roles within my sorority, and then I also was the vice president of the Panhellenic Association, which is the governing body above all of the sororities on a campus. And so that experience really shoved me out of my comfort zone, and I would go to meetings with university officials, and I would just meet with all different kind of students. And I think what prepared me is just all of the different people that you meet. You meet so many different people with backgrounds, and they all bring such a new perspective. And so I think having all of those people's perspectives in my pockets just made me want to go out and learn more about everybody else.
Definitely. That's great. I know when I was president of Rotaract, I prepared, I tried to plan everything. I had an agenda for the whole semester. I had all the speakers lined up. I had everything. But then the semester started happening and nothing happened as planned. So my next question to you guys is, did you really feel prepared during your leadership position? And if not, how did you combat that to lead effectively? Alisson, why don't we start with you?
So as I alluded to before, I really was not prepared for the kind of position I had signed up for. I really did it on a whim, and I thought that they would provide a bit more resources to us, and they didn't. So I kind of had to, again, do my own research, as well as use some of my previous experience with other leadership positions to help garner my plans for the semester. And it makes me laugh now because the first year I did it, it was a train wreck. But the second year was much better because I obviously had the train wreck experience and I knew how to grow from that. And so, sometimes you're thrown into these positions without knowing where to even start the workload. But I feel like as you work your way through it, you begin to learn. And then if you decide to do it again, then you do it even better than you did the first time.
Great advice. Yeah. What about you, Angela?
Yeah, I have the perfect follow-up to that. That was the same stream of line of what I was going to say. One time I was applying for a role and I had just gotten it. And I feel like with anything, you're never fully prepared on your first day. Like there are so many relationships you have to learn about and group dynamics and all things like that. And this one woman told me that, like, just breathe, like you were chosen to be here for a reason. And because we see potential in you, like we don't expect you to be perfect on your first day. We just expect you to learn every day. And I think that's what's helped me a lot is like, you don't have to have everything figured out. Like things are going to change, things are going to shift, especially with everything going on this semester. I'm sure everybody feels it in some way. And I think that that's what keeps me going. And I always tell collegians that to this day, I'm like, you don't have to be perfect today. Just as long as you're learning from your experiences, that's all you can do.
That's great. What about you, Gabby?
Yeah, so I definitely agree with the both of you. I think it's super important to be prepared and, have contingency plans, which it's like necessary nowadays with this current situation. And definitely to not be scared to ask questions. In the past, I reached out to Gabby. I reached out to previous presidents, my regional vice president, because like I don't want to make a decision that's going to affect us. So I was always making sure, we're taking the right step, going the right path. So I think it's okay to not know all the answers when you start out. It's okay to, ask for support from other people that have been there before.
Yeah, I think that's key. A lot of people always forget that they can ask for help. Even though you're technically in charge, you can still always reach out. So that's great. So as you guys alluded to, a lot has happened this year, both with the pandemic and all the social unrest currently happening. So with everything going on, how did you transition your organization for the change? Angela, why don't we start with you?
Of course. So when everything was shifting, I was helping start a new chapter in California. So I am currently living in Florida, so it was quite a bit of ways away. And naturally, everything had to go online. But I think before even all of that happened and I was getting sent back to Florida, we communicated everything and with everyone. So whether it be higher ups above us, just people making decisions for the organization as a whole, and then being the middleman to all of the collegians, just making sure that every student felt like there was some answer being figured out. It wasn't like we were just not saying anything at all. Like anytime we had a call, we were explaining what we were going through, that we would provide hard information as soon as we could. And I think when we looked at the calendar, kind of like what Gabby said earlier, we had all of this fun stuff planned and all of these workshops and ways to connect with each other. And I was with another consultant as well, and we looked at the calendar and we were like, okay, what can we do online? Like, what can we transition to still be functional and still have the same impact that it was going to? And then what are some other things that we can't do at all, and what are things that we want to bring out of it? So a lot of things that we did were we would have different sisterhood or just like engagement nights each week. So we had trivia, we asked members what they wanted to do. We had workshops and we made them more interactive, because obviously if you're in front of them, you can have them break off into groups or things like that. And we had Kahoots and we had breakout rooms and all of Zoom's lovely features. And so I think two of the most important things that I took away from that experience of what needed to shift was just communicating everything and just being empathetic and understanding towards everyone's situation and just adapting everything that you had planned, pretty much.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Gabby?
Definitely have to agree with Angela. It was a tough transition, but communicating with everyone every step of the way was definitely essential, because I felt like they needed to know what was going on. They needed to feel supported. They needed to know, what's happening, what's going to happen in the future. So definitely I think that was important. And, making sure they felt supported. It's a tough time for everyone, people in the hospitality industry, of course. So I always, make sure, if you need something, let me know. We'll figure it out. Don't be afraid to, get in touch with me. And, just, being there to help, I think is really important. And like Angela said, communicating.
Yeah. What do you think, Allison?
So for me, since my position actually ended in the fall, it doesn't start again until the fall. It's still kind of up in the air as far as what they're going to do and how they're going to transition the course to be fully online. There's still a lot of communication going on with, higher ups at FSU, trying to see if they're going to have all in-person classes, if they're going to do the lecture classes online. So it's not really confirmed yet, but I do hope that they try to keep the students engaged in the best they can, and hopefully be able to go outside at some point so they can actually meet each other and really have that mentorship aspect, so that it's not lost for that year because of a pandemic.
Yeah, definitely. I know it's all been crazy and we're all trying to understand. I know like my law school, they haven't said yet what they're doing officially. There's rumors here and there, but it's like no one really knows. With everything that you guys just said, what do you guys think was the most critical part of the leadership position that you guys had through all of everything that was happening? Allison, why don't we start with you?
Okay. I would say the most critical part was, again, that mentorship aspect, because yes, it's a required course for all honor students, but I'm also only a year or two older than them. And so there's this natural mentorship aspect that is expected of the TA for the students. And so that was also my favorite part of the process as well, being able to mentor the students and, tell them of my experiences and my mistakes so that hopefully they can do even better than I did. And so because of the crisis, that's obviously a more complicated process. But I'm still in contact with some of those students that I had during the fall semester, and just keeping that relationship is, I think, really important. Not just kind of closing the classroom door and being like, okay, bye, have a great winter break, but instead extending that extra hand and offering, my personal email address, my personal phone number by choice, and telling them that they can reach out to me at any time, whether they have questions, they need advice, or help with an application process. Just kind of extending myself to them and hoping that they, take advantage of that opportunity, which some of them did.
That's great. Angela, do you want to add anything?
Of course. To follow that up, I think something we had all kind of alluded to earlier is just being understanding of like what's going on, especially with the crisis. And I think for something that I have had to like really stress is just to truly stretch every empathetic bone in my body and try and understand where people are coming from. Because sometimes people aren't going to have the money right now to be able to pay for membership dues, and it's either they lost their jobs or their families have lost their jobs, and they need to put food on the table before they can pay for something extracurricular. And so I think you have to kind of take off your president or whatever hat you have and just be a person for a minute and be like, I see where you're coming from, and how can I help you as a sister, as a friend, and just be there for that person. And obviously, like, all the business stuff has to happen too, but that doesn't mean you can't be a person first.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And I think that really does help keep people motivated and keep people like excited to be a part of the organization. Like, oh, I'm not just a number to them. I'm more than just that. That's awesome.
Exactly. You want their buy-in. You want them to be excited about being a member. You don't want to just turn them away because of the situation they've been dealt.
Exactly. What about you, Gabby? What do you think?
So apart from what they both mentioned, I think definitely being prepared, having plan B, plan C, plan D is very important, because, you never know how things are going to go. So you just have to be prepared at all times. Contingency plans. My team and I are already preparing for the fall, having contingency plans. Like, let's say, okay, we're on campus for the fall, we're ready for that. If we go online in the middle of the semester, we have to be ready for that. If we're online the whole semester, you just have to be ready at all times.
Yeah. And it's crazy because we don't know. We're just going with it, trying to figure it out. So I know Angela kind of alluded to it. We kind of talked about it a little bit, but I kind of wanted to focus a little bit on how you communicated with your organization to keep them motivated, and a lot of people have just been going through a lot recently. So how did you communicate with them and keep them motivated and things like that? Angela, let's start with you, since you started us off with this topic.
Of course. I think I kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but I think it's really important to communicate next steps, even if you don't have them. So one thing that the consultant and I, that when we were in California, that we wanted to make sure that we communicated to all the students was, hey, like, we have a call on Monday, like, we will give you an answer like sometime on Tuesday, and giving them that as much of a tangible timeline as you can, because like it was so up in the air, and especially with being across the country, we were dealing with a lot of different time zone factors as well. But I think also giving what makes people want to be communicative and want to be motivated through this crisis is just getting their buy-in. So instead of just telling them what we're going to do or what the next steps are, asking their opinions. And so we would have surveys or send out polls if someone had an idea for something they wanted to do. And one woman in the organization I was working with, she was really into yoga and her yoga studio. And she was like, I could probably ask and like coordinate with like the person that I'm friends with and try and have an event or something. And then we ended up extending it to the entire Greek community, which was awesome. So we had like over 50 people attend, and it was able to become something that was more than just something internal and something more for the community. And I think once we had someone's buy-in or someone else's opinion, not just two heads trying to create all the ideas, it made people want to get involved because they had a part in it. And so I think getting people's input, and obviously you can't say yes to every situation, but getting their input will inevitably make them more excited about whatever the opportunity is.
Wow, that's great. What do you think, Gabby?
I definitely agree with Angela. Keeping everyone just aware of what's happening is definitely essential, because I think that gives them a lot of comfort knowing, okay, we don't know what we're doing yet, but they're figuring it out. They'll let me know. I think it's really important to, communicate what's happening exactly, because I feel like once let's say the officers and the members aren't really communicating, there's going to be kind of a disconnect, and it's not going to feel like an organization, a team. So that was definitely important to me. As I had calls, like Angela mentioned, I was, letting them know what's happening. I'll let you know in a few days. We're going to, start this plan. So that was definitely important to me, making sure that they knew we were figuring it out.
And you guys were all figuring it out together too.
Exactly.
Alisson, do you want to add anything?
Can I also talk about a different leadership position that I think might answer this question a little bit better?
Of course.
Okay. So at FSU, I was also involved in the World Affairs Program, which is the Model United Nations team.
Awesome.
And obviously this semester was cut short because of the pandemic. And when something spreads at that rate, you can't have model UN conferences because people are traveling, people are coming and going between conference rooms. And so what I think is going to be difficult for the incoming officer corps is trying to figure out, well, will our organization even exist if there is a second wave of COVID? Because if there's any threat of a virus like that, then you can't have model UN conferences at all. And so what I think is going to be interesting is seeing, well, what kind of programming they come up with to help kind of fill in the time that they would have spent traveling to different conferences. And so I gave them some ideas, and one of them was to have a speaker series with a distinguished FSU faculty member, and they can kind of tune in on Zoom and listen to some of their experiences, as well as ask some questions and see if maybe that professor is looking to accept research assistants or interns or something of that nature, so that professional development aspect is still there, as well as something that's related to everyone's course of study.
That's awesome. I love that you have so many different positions. I know you all do. I know you're all only talking about one, but you guys all have a lot of different positions. So that's awesome.
Hey, Allison, I would love to get the link for that too, because that sounds incredible.
Yes, I'm really excited to see how it's going to go.
Look at that. Connecting.
Networking at its finest.
So looking back on everything that has happened during all what's going on, what would you have done differently in your leadership positions? Allison, why don't we start with you?
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Oh, yeah, no, totally
Okay.
fine, totally fine. So I'm going to be a little open here and say that one of my weaknesses is a lack of patience. And probably throughout all my leadership positions, there were times when I could have been more patient with the process. I think a lot of times people in our generation really need instant gratification, need to see like the reward as soon as they take the risk. And that is not what happens in the real world. And so definitely in retrospect, I wish I would have had more patience and also asked for help when I needed it, especially with my teaching position when the semester really got rough. Like all the midterms were happening, we had papers due, but then I also had to grade my own papers. And I wish that I had extended my hand and been like, I actually need some help getting through this. But at the time, I couldn't see it. I didn't recognize it as well. But having that experience now, I know that, having patience is really important, as well as knowing when to put your pride aside and ask for help.
That's good. Good stuff. Angela, what about you?
I think looking back, especially at this past year, which, oh my gosh, it just went by so quickly also. I think just learning from all of those small moments is something that I wish that I did, whether it just be like saying yes to a small opportunity. Like I just look back and I wish I obviously made more of the time that I had in person with people, but in a leadership sense, I think that there were probably moments where I could have provided more opportunities for people or stayed somewhere a little bit later to meet with people. And there's those little things that I think eventually add up to some big things. And looking back, I just wish that I would have made them more of the time that I had in person with the students that I was with, because now they're very far away and I hope that I get to see them soon, but we don't know when soon is. So,
yeah. Gabby, what about you? I think you're still in your president position, right? It's for the whole. Okay. So looking back on your first semester and going forward, what is one thing that you
So through my leadership positions, I've definitely learned that I'm a perfectionist, and that's a little bit tough to deal with because you need to trust the team around you. So you know that they can complete the tasks too. So that's definitely something I'm trying to learn, to let go a little bit and just trust, the officers around me. It's hard for me to let go because I want everything to be perfect and everything to work out. And that's just not realistic. Not everything can be perfect. And, you just have to know that the other people are working as hard as you to achieve that goal and to complete that task. So definitely something I'm working on.
I hope they're all listening to this to keep you accountable next semester. So let's see if we have any comments from the audience, any questions from the audience. Play fun music. No. Yes, we have one. Hi, Angela.
Hello.
You have a fan.
Aw.
Okay, well, if anyone has any questions for these lovely guests, feel free to comment below and we'll answer them. But on to my next question then. I know we don't really know what the next few months are going to look like, but what are you anticipating the remainder of the year will look like for your organization? And if you're leaving your leadership position, how are you helping the new leaders transition into becoming a leader during this crazy time? Like, they're not going to get that usual feeling with being in person. So, or I guess maybe, we don't know, but how are you guys doing that? Gabby, let's start with you.
Okay, so definitely having contingency plans. Like I said before, plan B, plan C, plan D, just being ready for everything. And, just being there for everyone, communicating. And, we're trying to enhance our social media presence, just, maybe to highlight the brothers, the officers, and just to, motivate them a little bit more. We usually have Brother of the Week, but that's probably going to go online now, so just trying to think of different ways to kind of transition our usual events, plans, meetings into online if we are online. So, we're just getting ready for any scenario right now.
Yeah. What about you, Allison?
So, like I said before, it's looking more hopeful as time goes on as far as what measures they'll take if we do transfer fully online. I'm speaking about the World Affairs program right now, especially because of the speaker series that they're hopefully going to be able to launch with distinguished faculty members, and being able to still have that person-to-person contact and that relationship aspect there. And hopefully also they'll be able to do some of the trainings for conferences via Zoom as well, so that the Model United Nations part is still somewhat involved, even if they don't have the opportunity to travel. So I don't think this is the end. I do think that they'll be able to do some cool things online through the Facebook page and through Zoom.
Yeah. What about you, Angela?
Mm-hmm. So I have transitioned out of my role. So I was anticipating passing the torch off to someone else. And so the way that my role worked was that I was serving as an executive board officer in different positions. And then once collegiate officers were elected, then the students were the ones taking the lead on planning events and making everyone feel included and all of that kind of stuff. And so one thing that I'm very thankful that my organization has taught me to do is to keep a working notebook. And basically it's like a living document that throughout your entire term, you just write down all the little things that you would never think of at the end of your term, whether it be something super small or like contact information. And so when I was transitioning out, I had a ton of meetings with advisors and the advisory board team just to help them take over and help with the campus, because they are going to be online, to my knowledge, based on a lot of the California schools are online. And so just providing them with those resources. And I can't remember who said it earlier, but they talked about how just having giving your personal phone number, being like, I'm available if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, and just being an open line of communication. And I think that being that for them, and hopefully with all of the resources in the school, they are preparing to do online stuff. And that was what a lot of our conversations were at the end of my term. So hopefully they have some great stuff cooking up, and I'm sure they're doing great things.
That's awesome. It's funny that you're talking about the notebook. When I was transitioning out of presidency, I was like, I need to start a binder with everything from everyone. So I literally got a 2-inch binder and had all the officers print out notes and everything that people needed, so that they had a reference guide. And some officers were like, well, I emailed it to you. And I was like, no, you need to print it. We're putting it in this binder. It is the binder from now on.
Oh, yeah.
I have it in my room right now.
Look, see?
Oh, yeah. We made Google Drives for everybody. We sent it to everybody, the whole 9 yards. I was like, any document, I'm sure you'll find it useful at some point.
Wow. You never know. So that's awesome. So now moving on a little bit to you guys, personally, because we've learned that you guys are great leaders. So I think it's definitely important to kind of figure out what you guys are doing to be great leaders. So what is something valuable you guys learned during quarantine, either about yourselves or about your organization or things like that? I see wide eyes. Does someone want to start? I don't want to, but you guys
I can start.
Okay, go for it.
So I think that for me personally, like with quarantine, you have so much time to self-reflect and you have a lot of time to just, you have a lot of time. And so a lot more time than you ever thought you would. And so I think taking advantage of that time and thinking back, at least for me, because I'm no longer in college. And so thinking back to my experiences and thinking of what are things that I wish I knew, or what are ways that I can give back, whether it be advising or just reaching out to old colleagues and seeing if there's anything that they need help with. And so I've been in contact with a few of my old colleagues that I worked with at the FSU Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life, and being like, if you need help, if you need hands on deck, like just let me know. I helped grade some things, I helped review some stuff. And I'm like, if I can be helpful with the free time that I have, I'm just trying to help everyone where they can, because I feel like everyone needs help in some way, shape, or form right now.
Yeah. What about you, Gabby?
So this is definitely the most time I've had in a long time. I'm usually super busy. I'm never home. So definitely had a lot of time to, learn different things. I've been wanting to learn how to invest, in the stock market for a while, and I finally did it. Yeah, so I'm learning a lot about that. I found this really cool opportunity from FAU. One of the professors, he started a free hospitality and tourism management certificate. So I completed that last week, which was awesome. And, I'm just trying to learn different things, throughout this time that I'm not really doing much, but I'm just trying to learn and, further myself.
Yeah, sort of like try to make the most.
Exactly.
Of the situation. Yeah. What about you, Allison?
Yes. So this is also the most free time I had since, I don't know, I was born maybe. Normally I'm I'm like the same person kind of who Gabby is, always out of the house, very busy, schedule full from morning until evening. And so I've been kind of restless. I'm not a homebody. I don't like to be at home. I never did my homework in my apartment or in my dorm. Like I'm always the person that's outside. So this has been hard for me to adjust to. Yeah. But I feel like recently I've finally been able to figure out how to fill up my schedule, even though I don't necessarily leave the house. And that involves, my personal wellness, like working out, doing yoga, meditation, as well as taking advantage of some of the free courses offered by Ivy Leagues that you can add to your LinkedIn profiles, or if you use like a different website for your professional development. It just makes it seem like you have like a well-versed experience in college. Like, oh, you took classes at Princeton, you also went to FSU. And so I've been dabbling in that. And also like Gabby, I am interested in investing in the stock market, which I also just did this week. So now I feel like a real adult getting my life together. So I'm happy where things are right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love that you highlighted how it was a difficult transition, but you just had to figure out what worked for you and figure that out. Because it's not always easy. I think a lot of people make it seem like being a leader and like being on top of things is easy. Like it just comes naturally. But like, no, it's important to step back, relax, realize you need to adjust, you need to take a break kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And you guys also answered my next question, which was going to be hobbies you guys are doing. So I think you guys answered that unless anyone wants to add anything. No. Okay. So what is one advice you guys would give to future leaders who want to one day be in your footsteps, follow your footsteps? Allison, why don't we start with you?
Okay. My advice would be to take the risk. I feel like for most of the things that I did in college, I did not think about in advance and I didn't plan it out in advance. It just kind of happened. Like I saw the opportunity and I said, I don't know if I should do this or not. I don't know if I'm qualified enough. And I just took the risk and it ended up being completely fine. So my advice to future leaders would be to always just take the risk, take advantage of the opportunity, even if you don't really foresee yourself being in that kind of position. If it doesn't align closely with your academic studies, that's totally fine. Like every experience is worthwhile and should be taken advantage of. So I always encourage people to take the risk.
I love that.
The answer is always no if you don't try. So,
yeah. What, is that your advice, Angela, or is it?
Oh, honestly, you said it perfectly. I think because like anything I think I applied for, like tried to go for was something that I was on the fence with as well. And so like literally to echo what you said, like is absolutely perfect. Like even if you don't think you're qualified, apply anyway. Even if it says you need a certain degree, apply anyway. When people meet you, they're going to be impressed with you. And so just have confidence in yourself. And if it doesn't work out, then it wasn't meant to be. And I think with any of the leadership roles that I've had, sometimes like I kind of mentioned earlier, like you might be hesitant. You might be like, oh, well, I'm not perfect on day one. And I think just being open and being like, this is the path that you're meant to take. And that ended you up here. And you might not know where it's going to take you just yet, but just buckle up for the ride and enjoy it because, you know, you never know where it'll take you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with the both of you. I really was never planning on becoming president of an organization, but I did, and I'm really thankful that I did. You know, taking a risk, scary, but it's totally worth it at the end. Something that I think is really important once you're in your leadership role is to be an active listener. I think it's super important to know how your officers are feeling, how the members are feeling, if they're happy with how things are going, if they think that you're doing a good job at, you know, the events or, you know, social events, things like that. I think an organization needs communication to run well. So I think if you're, you know, at the top or if you have one of the top positions, you have to always, you know, ask and see if that's exactly how they want things to be going or if you can change a little bit, you know.
Yeah, communication, being aware of what you need help with. Love that. So unfortunately, this is the final question, unless you guys want to add anything else. But what are some goals that you guys have, either personally or professionally, for the next 3 years? And what are you doing to develop those goals? So, Angela, why don't we start with you?
Okay. I when I saw this question earlier, 3 years seems like such a long time, but it really, really isn't. Like I look back to my college experience and that was 4 years and went in the blink of an eye. And so in 3 years, I would like to either have or be working towards a master's in higher education. I have said throughout this whole past hour that how much my experience has given me, and I just want to pay it forward. And so I would love to be working at a university or just taking next steps towards being able to provide those experiences for people. And a lot of those jobs do require a master's degree. So something that would be helpful to have. And I think I love sunny South Florida. One other goal of mine is to move out of Florida. I just would like to see something north and have different climate. And that's just a personal goal of mine, is just to move out of the state. Yeah.
Angela, I think before you do that, you should come visit me in Chicago during the winter and see if you still stay.
You know, everyone always asks if I've shoveled snow before. And although the answer is no, you know, I will happily learn. So anything's better than this humidity.
What about you, Gabby? So one of my goals is definitely to become financially independent. This is technically my second year of college, even though I was a junior, I'm becoming a senior now. So I was kind of thrown into my sophomore year and I had to kind of just like do things really quickly. And it's been kind of hard getting adjusted to that pace, but I'm thankful for it because it kind of prepared me to where I am today. And so once I graduate, I definitely want to be able to, you know, move out, be financially independent, and find my dream job, really, because I've had 2 internships before, and I just don't feel like they're exactly where I want to be, but I'm getting closer to where I want to be. So I definitely want to make sure I find, you know, where my passion and my talents collide, and, you know, just, you know, be happy, really.
That's awesome. I think internships are so important because you really do find out what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. What about you, Allison?
So my first goal on the list is to find a job. I just recently graduated, and so everything in the job market is kind of confusion and a little bit more challenging than it would have been if there wasn't a global pandemic. But we are still trudging through nonetheless. I'm hoping to get a job in investment banking somewhere in New England so that I can also escape the humidity and get some work experience before I apply for law school.
Oh, awesome.
Mhm.
I have a follow-up question for you, Allison, just based off of that response. How has it been like graduating during the global pandemic and everything that has been happening?
At first, it honestly was really heartbreaking because there were things that I was working towards since freshman year, and I was supposed to have like this big, nice ceremony and celebration of actually achieving it. And they were either canceled or put online for Zoom. And I honestly didn't even tune in because I'm like, I don't even like it's not even the same. So I'm not gonna go. They had the graduation ceremony online as well. I did not tune in because they did not read our names, and that's the only thing that I needed to hear was my name. So honestly, it was heartbreaking, it was disappointing, but I'm happy to be finished with college. I think I'll be more disappointed if I still had some years of college to go because I don't even know what that would look like. You know, FSU is really big on football and sports, so I don't know what that experience would be like. So I am grateful that I'm graduating now and that, you know, I'm happy, healthy. So that's all I can ask for.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one thing that we're all going to definitely take away from this pandemic is how to be resilient, how we have all our goals and plans and oh, this is what the year's going to look like, but we don't know. But I think it's great. We're making the most of it. We're going on, trucking along.
Yeah. Flexibility has
yeah.
been the key for the past however many months.
I know.
Yep.
That's awesome, guys. I think you guys are wonderful and you're doing a great job. Unless you guys have anything else to add, I think that was all I wanted to talk about today.
Thank you for having us, Gabby. This was incredible to be able to share our experiences and just be in community virtually. So thank you.
And I want to say you're an amazing leader, Gabby. I look up to you so much. You've done so much for DSP, so I'm definitely thankful to, you know, be close to you and to have opportunities like this. You know, this is the importance of having a good network.
Yeah, thank you. That means a lot.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us. I'm glad to have had you guys all on the show. You guys are amazing. And I hope that we were able to bring some encouragement to the future leaders and current leaders out there. Tune in next week and find out what we have in store. Thanks, guys. Bye.